conversation that I see repeated more frequently than any other conversation that I see in the graphic design professionals forums is the conversation about designing for yourself, coming up with your own branding, designing your own website, anything. It is the most challenging thing. There is no one there to narrow down your focus. I like a lot of things, and that's really great until you're trying to decide how to represent a business that encompasses a lot of things. And it's a lot easier when you have someone who has a more specific business, say, like my own, a hair business or a therapy private practice, or they are an independent masseuse or something like that, where you have a very specific theme to focus on. And design, being that you design for all of these other themes, is enormously broad and really tricky to represent in a way that doesn't seem kind of cliche or hasn't been done 1,000 times before. So the first challenge I had was coming up with a name, and I went through a bunch of different names that I was looking up on the internet and social media and finding they had already been used in every possible spelling and creation a million times. And then I had to start looking for how I could use my own name, and I discovered that there are plenty of designers named Rosie. There are plenty of designers that also are named Rosie and have the last initial K. So that was just not helping me at all. Obviously, when you get down to just initials RK, that's not going to happen either. So I was really running out of options, and I decided finally just to use my full name, which is a little bit difficult because my last name spelling is not visually the way it sounds when you pronounce it. And so it can be hard for people to remember the spelling if they have to look it up later, things like that. And whatever, I just didn't have any more choices. And I was going to just do Rosie Keshik Designs, and really simple, really straightforward. I ended up, by the time I finished designing my website, I ended up changing the name to Rosie Keshik Creative, because one of the things that I have thought a lot about is considering how many times I've already changed jobs and all of the interests that I have. I don't really want to create yet another career for myself at this point in my life or later, but I do want to feel that there is the possibility that there are ways that I can expand my work or transition into something that is maybe a little bit more casual and fun as I get older. And my someday long-term goal that I absolutely have never told anyone yet is that I would like to, once I'm established as a designer, I think that I would like to start to work also offering illustration services, which at this point I'm not even comfortable doing. I don't feel like my skill level is anywhere near where I want it to be, and I don't really feel confident offering those services, but it's a nice idea of a way to transition into something that is really, really purely fun. That's my sort of someday goal. Once I get really set up in design, I would like to shift my free time focus into working on illustration. And one of the things that I am really aware of is that, at least in the United States, at least in California, every time you create a new business, you have to register that business name. And so I just wanted to save myself the trouble of having to do this again by registering a business name that is so broad that I could pack a bunch of different activities into that category without having to create a whole new business and change the name all over again, over and over again. So Rosie Keshik Creative is the name that I chose and registered as my design business, and it is the name under which I hope to try lots of different things